today's session of Visual JForex, in which we are going to see the use of DMI, Directional Movement Index. This is an indicator which is used to determine the trend as well as the of trend of any underlying instrument. So we will see how we can use this momentum indicator for our advantage to build the automated algorithmic setup using the Visual JForex platform developed by the Dukascopy Bank SA. So this is the DMI. Here we don't really have the description, so we will straight away head to the Visual JForex board, and here you have the listing of all these indicators which are provided on the platform. Today we are taking into consideration this momentum oscillator DMI. So we will see what it stands for, how it functions, and then how we can optimize this indicator for finding the optimum opportunities to go long or short depending on the trend in the underlying instrument. So here we are going to use the on-tick as our start point for today's session. Now coming to the DMI, we have to define the input parameters, and depending on the input parameters we get the output parameters, the output value, which then can be utilized to carry out the conditions or the requirement defining loops. We can use these output values for the if else statements, or we can use the output values for defining other comparisons. So we can use these output values essentially to design the conditions which are going to help us in figuring out whether this is the right time to get involved for any trade in current situation or not. So here we add the DMI indicator on the chart. So we have these three output values for the DMI. Now let us again head back to the platform. So first we have to define this default instrument, the instrument on which we want to design the algorithm. If you want to work with the Euro USD, then you don't really need to change anything. If you want to take any other instrument, you are free to do so as long as it is included in this list. Only the instruments which are included in these are supported on the Visual JForex platform. So here for today's session, let us try to work with the USD JPY, and then comes the time period, the question of time period. So what is the appropriate time period? There is no fixed answer to this question. You have to see what is your time horizon if you want to do the intraday short term, pretty short term trading, or if you want to work with the longer term swing trade. So depending on your requirement or the conditions, you can choose to take the appropriate time period. So here this is the Euro USD chart. Let us change it to USD JPY, and we change it to 15 minutes. Let us take the 15 minutes as the example. We have these three output values, the DMI, the ADX, and the DMI minus, DMI plus. So I will explain to you what the DMI plus and DMI minus stands for. Okay, first let us see the functions of the DMI indicator. We get these three output values depending on the input values we have taken into consideration. Now this DMI is being calculated on the last 14 candlesticks of 15 minutes each. If you want to use the longer time horizon, we can do that. If we want to take into consideration, say, the 50 candlesticks, then we can take that as well. So here we have these USD JPY chart of 15 minutes each, and now we have this DMI indicator plotted for the 50 time period of 15 minutes each on the USD JPY. Now, as you can see, the ADX value is at 19.99. We will have to enlarge it so that we can easily see the values. Now, as per its developer, the value for DI plus or DI minus should be about 25. Then the trend is considered strong. If the DI plus value is about 25, that means the uptrend is strong. Now the underlying instrument is trending on the bullish trajectory. If the DI minus is about 25, that means the bearish trajectory is strong and the bears are in control, and it's better to get involved for the short sale side, short sale trades. So depending on how the DI values are developing, we have to take the trade. So here the first thing is that you should have to work with the DI values. As I said, we also can use this crossover kind of structure, and usually the DI line which is above is considered as the trend dominating indicator. If the DI minus value is above the DI plus value, that means the bearish trajectory is strong, the bears are in control, and if the DI plus value is above the DI minus value, that means the trajectory is stronger on the bullish side and it's better to go for the buy trade. So we can use this comparison between the DI values, the positive DI as well as the negative DI values, and we can determine what is the trajectory of the underlying instrument. And then, as I said, we can use this indicator to see if the instrument is trending or it is simply in the sideways consolidation phase. If we don't really see any of these DI values about 25, then that might be the factor, that might be one of the trading conditions also. We should generally speaking trade only when the DI plus or DI minus value is about 25, and when none of the two values are about 25, that means the price action is rather range bound and there is no strong trend present in the instrument, and because of that it will be better to simply sit on the sidelines rather than getting involved in such choppy environment. So we can use that output values, we can use this scenario also, and that's why this is one of the favorite tool of many traders, and it's also fairly easy to understand and use. We get to know whether the underlying instrument is trending, whether it is trending on the bullish side or the bearish side, as well as whether it is in simply the sideways consolidation phase, and whatever is the output, whatever is the outcome, we can do the classification and then accordingly we can take our trading decisions. Now, to see if we are going to take into consideration the current output value or the prior output values, we have to define this look back period, and the look back period helps us in getting the values which can be then compared to see what is actually happening in the underlying instrument, whether the trend is getting strong or whether the trend is weakening, and we can use these output values to figure out whether it's the appropriate time to get involved or not. The signal period, here we have defined it on 50. So this is the input setup which we have plotted on the chart, and as you can observe here, depending on the output values, we can determine pretty much whether we want to go long or whether we want to go short. And now if we take into consideration the current scenario, we don't really have any of these two DI values about 25, That means the underlying instrument is not trending strongly, rather it is in consolidation phase, so we can simply sit on the sidelines, and whenever we will see the breakout or big move, we will have the DI values at the appropriate level, say about 25, and then we will be able to take the renewed trading call. And as per our input parameters, we will get the output values, the output parameters. And also you have to determine on which side you want the calculation to be done, whether on the bid side or on the ask side. There is spread, and because of that there will always be minor difference between the output values. The applied price as an input is an important parameter, and we have to see which is the applied price which is going to serve our purpose well. So here through the editing option, I think on the Visual JForex platform you have those options, but here on the JForex charting we don't really see that option. So because of that we can't really choose the applied price here, but we can choose the applied price on the Visual JForex platform, and it simply means what is the price of each candlestick you want to take into consideration. If you take the closing value of the candle, then we will have the DMI calculated on the basis of closing value of all these candles for last 50 periods, and if you take the high value or low value or say opening value, then accordingly the calculation will be done, and you will have slight difference in the DMI output values. So that's it from my side for today's session, and if any of you have any query or any idea to share, you can write it in the comment section. And of course don't forget to work with this indicator blog and get back to me if the need arises or if you feel any complexity with the use of this indicator. Till then, have a fabulous time ahead. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.